Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. If Disney won't say it, I will. Zach Lindquist here with a word about what seems to be everybody's favorite topic these days: sex.
Blasphemer!
Specifically, I wanted to bring up what seems to be Christians' reluctance to discuss the subject. I've experienced this plenty in my life, especially in recent years. Even before I wrote my book, as I was still writing the book, I would talk to people about it. I would say, "Hey, I'm writing this. I'm talking about sexual morality," and the responses I got from Christian people were, frankly, if I'm being honest, baffling, dumbfounding. Uh, I, I, from quite a few people, heard back responses like, "Well, do you really think that's a good idea? I don't think that that's appropriate to talk about sex in the Christian book. I don't like that." And, and and of course, this is coming from the more legalistic side of Christianity, the legalistic Christians for whom their faith is really a surface level endeavor. They just don't want to mess with their squeaky clean image. They would rather, fixate on the fact that I smoked a cigar with my brother when we got together for the holidays, which is something we want to do. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of cigars I have in a year. It's not going to kill me anytime soon. But that's something my brother and I like to do. We like to smoke a cigar leisurely while we have theologically charged discussions talking about C.S. Lewis or something from that ilk. You know, and that's and that's really what the legalistic side of Christianity would prefer to fixate on, or the fact that some of us like to have a glass of red wine with dinner, or something like that, rather than talk about anything real. This is what Jesus probably would have called straining at a gnat but swallowing a camel. And the reason that I talk about sex so often,
Heresy!
and I wrote a whole book, not a whole book about the topic, but a section of my book is dedicated to the topic, is that I think far too few Christians do talk about these important issues. Many of them are just afraid to discuss it. Again, it seems dirty to them for some odd reason. I mean, sex is created by God. It is from God. It is to be used in His purposes, and it's not dirty at all when used the right way. But Christians seem to, and church people tend to be afraid to even discuss it. I didn't hear much about it growing up in church. I heard about it from my mother, thank goodness. But far too many. We can tell just by looking at our culture and the state of things today that Christians have been far too mum on the topic. And they're afraid to discuss these very important issues. And if young Christians don't hear about this stuff from us, if they don't hear about it from Christian parents, if they don't hear about the biblical perspective of things from their parents or from the church or from someone, then they're going to hear about sex from somebody else. They're going to learn about it from somebody else, and that somebody else is not going to instill the Christian values that should go along with it. They're going to hear about it from the culture. They're going to hear about it from TV, movies, vulgar music. They're going to hear about it in public schools. Nowadays, it's probably going to be from a purple-haired teacher who's teaching them about transgender theory. So yes, it is important for Christians to discuss sex, to discuss sexual morality. It's important to discuss the fact that it is not only important, it's vital for us to save this stuff for a marital commitment. It's vital for young people to understand that you will never regret waiting for your spouse to have sex, but you will always regret not waiting. It is very important for them to understand that it is literally impossible for God's rules to be outdated, and He has a reason for those rules that He gives us. There's always a reason for everything God says and does. Every time I hear that it's outdated, that sexual morality is too old school, I want to laugh, but it's just so sad. It's honestly, I never could wrap my head around that one, but we're reaping what we sowed in modern culture is what I'm trying to say, is that the church has been so mum on these issues over the last decades that, I mean, the sexual revolution was nothing compared to what we're experiencing now. I mean, we haven't been planting these seeds of sexual morality. We haven't been planting these seeds in our young Christians. They haven't been learning about this stuff as they should. They have not been told that sex is best safe for marriage, and they haven't been told why that is, because that is the truth. And when we stay silent on it, they heard about it from somebody else whose intentions were not so good. So frankly, shame on us, first of all. I mean, generally speaking, shame on us Christians for not making this a priority. We should have learned our lesson in the 60s, but we did not. This stuff has been running rampant and escalating through our culture for decades and decades, and we haven't seen anything yet. So yes, Christians need to get up off their butts. People in the church need to grow a spine and teach their young people about this stuff. I'm not suggesting you subject a young child to a graphic sex ed. Obviously, not what we're talking about here. But they will have questions about where babies come from, and that's a simple answer. You know, they come from mommy and daddy. When two people get married, they have a baby. That's elementary school level stuff. That's fine. But eventually they have to develop the faith of adults, and we have to be willing to talk about this stuff, discuss this stuff. We don't have to be vulgar, but we do have to be frank. Okay, we do have to talk about this with our young adults. We have to talk about this with teenagers. They have to know and understand why sexual morality is important. And I lay all of this out in my book. There's frankly a bit much in there. I don't think I could talk about all of it in a single video. But Christians, church people, we have been silent for far too long. It is time to step up, be parents, be leaders. We have to do our duty as followers of Christ. We have to raise the next generation well and right way, to pay attention. We have to pay attention to what our kids are being taught in school. We have to pay attention to what music they're listening to. We have to pay attention to what they're watching on the television or on the internet. We have to instill them with biblical values, or someone else is going to teach them their own values. And it's not complicated. If one does not have a mature belief in God, if one does not believe in God, they will believe in anything. Young people are malleable. They need a foundation. It is our job to give it to them. On that cheerful note, thank you for your time, and God bless you.